So for me, I haven't even been in a monogamous relationship. So where would you recommend I get started? Kind of.
Yeah, for kind of like exploring to see if that could be a possibility for you.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, see if you can hop on, your favorite podcast platform, type in non-monogamy, polyamory, open relationships, see what's out there. See if you can listen to a few episodes, what people have to say, listen to other people's experiences. You may even have people in your close circle that may have at least experimented with non-monogamy. Um, there was a study for the US and Canada they did, and it turns out that at least 1 in 5 people have at least attempted some form of non-monogamy. So like 20% of the population, like that's a big percentage at some point in their life, right? Um, so I would say like starting with podcastings, or also going on YouTube. There's a lot of really great ones. And then there are so many books. There's one by Tristan Torrentino, and they talk about, what is it like to open your relationship and kind of like all of the steps that, you might go through from going from a monogamous mindset to a non-monogamous mindset. So there's a lot of great resources out there.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. And then what advice do you have for people to, I guess, judge the quality of their relationship? Like, red
Ooh.
flags, for example, or green
Ye-
flags. Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. So if you notice that you're kind of maybe obsessing about the relationship a lot, like in a way of thinking like, oh my gosh, is it gonna end? Did I do something wrong? Did what I just say, start this conflict? If you're really in your head about it and kind of having a lot of relationship anxiety related to your relationship, that would be a sign to kind of check in, see what's going on. So that could be like a red flag of it could be yourself or your partner. But if you're in a place where you feel like you can't really share your honest thoughts and feelings with your partner, conflict or no conflict as the outcome, then we're in a really tough place, because if you're going to be in a long-term relationship with someone, there's going to be conflict no matter what. So we got to figure it out. So like that gut feeling, I think would be one of the first signs for people to kind of check in and say like, oh, okay, I need to do a little bit more digging around this instance that keeps happening. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So figuring out how to open up communication, and then how would you recommend people practice building self-awareness?
Yeah. So practicing building self-awareness, like especially with their own feelings, some people aren't even in tune with emotions. Like they might not even know how to name their emotions that come up for them. And so I really like to just tell people, see if we can do like a body sensation related to it. We don't even have to come up with an emotion right now. So let's say maybe you're feeling angry. And so you might feel like redness on your face or a hotness on your face or an increased heart rate. I would have people start paying attention to their body when certain decisions are made or certain reactions are made. When we're feeling triggered, our body is going 100 miles an hour. And so there's a lot happening for us. When we're feeling calm, you can really notice able to breathe really easy, being able to think really clearly. So that would be my first advice, is to just check in with your body.
Pay attention to signs. Yeah, that makes sense
Hmm.
physiologically.
Yeah.
So we've gone over a lot. We've covered communication. We've covered like starting advice for people. Um, what are the successful markers you've noted in, in really healthy long-term couples, whether monogamous or non-monogamous, both?
Yeah. I would say the number one thing that could really help determine that, and this is what I learned through my own like personal coaching experience that I've gone through, is the concept of a growth mindset compared to a fixed mindset. And so a growth mindset really means that I've taken on this worldview that problems are conquerable, that we can figure things out together, that I can learn to do something better. I can dive into resources and figure it out. And a fixed mindset kind of plays more of this victim role. Like, woe is me. It's just the way it is. Or I'm just like that. They think they're unchangeable. And so that can really run you into the ground, right? Especially if we're trying to change unhealthy patterns, relational patterns that are not going well. You're going to be stuck with that. A fixed mindset person is going to just have the same thing over and over again. And oftentimes in relationships, monogamous ones that I've seen, you'll get paired with a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And so that can be a really big struggle. You know, the growth minded person is usually the one who calls to go to therapy, is the one who's already reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts, while the fixed mindset person is saying, go fix yourself to the growth minded partner. So that can be a really big make or break for relationships.
So, how would you recommend someone who is in a fixed mindset begin to transition into a growth mindset?
Yeah, it's all about highlighting opportunity and hope and seeing if you can shine a light on what kind of relationship they do want for the rest of their life. And maybe they're okay with, you know, having a closed off relationship that doesn't feel so connecting, that doesn't feel like you can rely on them, right? Maybe they've just had so much trauma or baggage in their life where they're not willing to go there and be more open. And that's okay. Um, some people are though. And you can change from a fixed to a growth mindset. And so if you highlight the opportunities or the possibilities for them of what life could be like, that's like step number one for motivating, being able to start shifting into, oh, well, if my life could be, you know, if maybe like when we fought, you know, we weren't yelling at each other and they would be calm conversations. Maybe I could learn how to do this one technique that our coach or therapist was telling us. Maybe I could read this book that my partner has been wanting me to read. So, highlighting those opportunities is crucial.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm also wondering what you think of this idea that people have of, I guess, shared life goals, right? Um, so when you get into non-monogamy, how much of shared life goals can someone have with, say, an additional partner?
Yeah, that is such a good question. And it really depends on the type of relationship structure in non monogamy that you have, right? There can be, you know, if you're swinging, you're likely not having deep emotional connections where you're, you know, thinking about, you know, building a commune together 20 years from now, right? Um, if you're polyamorous and maybe you don't practice hierarchical polyamory and you see all your partners at an equal playing field, maybe you are building in life goals together. So one, I think it just one thing to think of is it depends on the relationship structure. And so sometimes there are shared life goals where maybe some of the life goals are going to maybe traveling to certain places. Maybe some of the shared life goals are having certain experiences. Whereas maybe for another partner, maybe the shared life goal is building a family, having kids together, making an impact on the community. So it can really depend.
That's interesting to think about. Yeah, so every person's goals are different. So in a way, every combination of people would also have different goals together.
Right. Yeah.
In your experience, what do you think sort of gets in the way when people start succeeding? What are some of the like unanticipated pitfalls that they run into?
Unanticipated pitfalls that I think people run into is not realizing the potential for jealousy. Some people who go into monogamy, usually if it's a monogamous opening up into a non-monogamous relationship, the person who's a bit more excited about it or enthusiastic about it in that dynamic can kind of have this mindset of like, "Pff, I'm not going to get jealous if, you know, my partner who's less enthusiastic about it has experiences, and then it can hit them. And so I think just not thinking about the possibilities, not being prepared. And so what can happen again is, a bunch of conflict. It can, draw up a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms for people when they're not prepared for things like that. So the unanticipated jealousy is one pitfall. And then the idea that people have that they think that their relationship can be the same if they transition from monogamy to non-monogamy. Some people just want to keep things as is, and that's just simply not possible. You're completely changing the structure of your relationship. There's a book called Polywise by Jessica Fur. Maybe you have this house in a monogamous relationship and you decide to open up and you want it to only be like just basic renovations. You want to add a room. That's not going to happen when you have another relationship added to your dynamic. You are completely starting on a different foundation now. And so you have to build a different structure. So I think that throws people off is that things are just going to be the same. And that can actually be a really hard, a really big reason why people might have a tough time with the transition from monogamy to non-monogamy because they're still in a monogamous mindset.
Mhm.
So if I think that like, oh, there's only one love out there for me, and I'm agreeing to opening my relationship, I'm going to feel really bad seeing my partner be with someone else because I have this thought that like things should be this way and there should only be one of us. So that's going to be really tough.